Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. And man, I have a phenomenal episode for you. It's been a while since I produced a show. I've been doing a whole bunch in my personal life, but I'm back, man, for what is going to be, in my opinion, one of the most incredible and exciting playoff series that I can go on record by saying I've seen in a number of years here. So I want to jump into this content, but before I do so, like the video if you haven't done so already. Liking the video helps you cruise along algorithm avenue, helps us in this kind of content get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who might be interested in seeing this kind of content, and also subscribe to the channel. We are just a few subs away from hitting our first 500 sub milestone, so I'm incredibly excited about that too. But without further ado, I want to dive directly into this content in this episode. I am entitling the 2025 NBA preview. Now, man, if you have, like me, watched through this entire NBA season, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs have been incredible, much like every NBA season. So this one notwithstanding, but a lot of really, really good storylines brewing, a lot of teams that had high expectations throughout the season, didn't quite measure up, unfortunately. And I personally did a premature prediction show back during the summertime, which I'll probably do again this year, even though my track record on this one isn't going to bode so well. But I did a premature preseason prediction show, and then after free agency and all that stuff was all done, and some other moves have been made, I did another one just before the start of the season. And, I just kind of detailed who I thought, who I predicted, and like kind of where they'd fall in the standings. And I'm gonna give myself a D minus on that predictions on that episode and my predictions for that episode. But I want to dive into a graphic here to show you where I had shit fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, looking at the Western Conference, I was correct in saying that OKC will finish number one, and they certainly finished the number one overall seed. They number one overall team in the entire NBA. They were this year, staying in the Western Conference. I had Minnesota, based on them being the number 3 seed last year. I had them finishing somewhere around 2 this year, but that was with Cat in the line. This was before Cat was traded. I had no idea Cat was going to be traded. I was like, man, what the heck? So I think that screwed them all up. Minnesota, ended up kind of gutting it out, very gutsy toward the end of the season to handle business, and they finished at number 6 overall seed. So I was totally wrong about that. Totally wrong about my number 3 prediction in the Western Conference also, because I had Dallas finishing number 3. This was the Luka Doncic Dallas team that had just made it to the finals last year. When I was making that prediction, clearly we understand what happened with injuries and Luka being out, after Christmas and then missing a bulk of games through February, but then being traded to the Lakers, and I just totally screwed that all up. Denver, I had finishing at number 4, which actually I was accurate on that. But I had New Orleans finishing at 5, actually 5 and 6. Just throw them both away. New Orleans and Phoenix, man, holy shit. Just bad news bears, man, both of them. I won't even try to justify. I just had high hopes for New Orleans based on how they looked. Especially with Zion going down with an injury to close out that Lakers series in last year's playoffs. I was like, man, had he not gone down with that soft tissue injury, I think they were calling it a hamstring or something like that, in the closing minutes, I think New Orleans would have went on to beat the Lakers. And so for that reason, I was riding high on them. The Suns also, I didn't think that they changed much, so I had them finishing right where they were last year. But unfortunately, not changing anything in their roster and led to them not even making the play-in, which is despicable, just disgusting. And they fired Coach Bud today, which is breaking news from Shams just before I began to film this episode. Sacramento, I have finishing at number 7, so I was accurate in that they would be a playoff team this year, but that was with De'Aaron Fox still there. So totally there was some shakeup there that kind of screwed up their balance and their chemistry this year. But adding DeMar DeRozan, adding Zach LaVine, they almost became like a bit of the Chicago Bulls in Sacramento uniform. But they were able to secure one of the play-in seeds. Golden State I have finishing at number 8, so they're relative like right about where I had them. They're actually in the 8th seed, I believe, as a play-in team. So I was accurate there. The Lakers, I guess I was disrespectful to the Lakers with the AD Lakers, AD and Braun Lakers. I didn't have them. I had them obviously being a play-in team, but we know that they added Luka and they played pretty solid basketball all season long. So kudos to the Lakers for doing their thing. Memphis, right about where I had them. You know what I mean, in a play-in situation. So that manifested into reality. I was totally disrespectful of the Clippers. I just felt like losing Paul George and with Kawhi just being this constant roller coaster with his health that just didn't, bode well for the Clippers. But the Clippers played phenomenal. Shout out to that Clipper team and Ty Lue for coaching his personnel up. Man, they did a great job this season. Norman Powell and some of those other guys who stepped up to just play phenomenally. Kawhi is back right now. They look like the dopest team in the Western Conference to me in terms of a threat. But I'll get into that here later. In Houston also, man, I had Houston finishing just one spot below where they were, last year, and not making the play in. But Houston has, surprisingly been an incredible basketball team. And I won't say surprisingly because they don't have the personnel. And shout out to Ime Udoka, who's, proven from Boston now to Houston, man, that he's a phenomenal coach, able to coach up his personnel as well and to utilize those pieces and, put a strategy in that works for them. So this Houston team finished as high as number 2 this season. So total shock and surprise. Over to the East Coast, same graphic. I had Boston finishing number 1. Shockingly, they did not. Actually, I had the Knicks finishing number 2, where they finished last year. Also, shockingly, they did not. So shift them down. They would finish 2 and 3 respectfully in the Eastern Conference. Philadelphia, fucking bad news bears to throw them away. I was hot, hoping that, or thinking that Paul George coming in, coupled with Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, man, that they will make some noise this year. But we know that disaster that was a complete, utter train wreck, unfortunately. So Milwaukee, I did have Milwaukee, Indiana squaring off at 4-5, which is, you know what I mean, like exactly where they are. So I got that one accurate. But Cleveland, I was disrespectful of. I had Cleveland drop down 2 places in my predictions because they had switched coaches, and I don't even know that I really paid attention to the fact that it was Kenny Atkinson because I'm a Kenny Atkinson guy from his years in Brooklyn. But man, Kenny Atkinson had those guys out here cranking on all cylinders. They had played a phenomenal basketball season, 2 separate 15-game winning streaks, just legendary in terms of their prowess this season. So shout out to Cleveland. Cleveland is actually the number 1 seed, so I was way off with that. Orlando, Miami, Chicago, essentially, you know what I mean? Like did exactly what I thought they would do. Toronto, unfortunately, with their early injuries for Scotty Barnes, etc., I don't think they were ever able to recover. So they unfortunately did not make the play-in. But Atlanta, actually did, and so did Detroit. And Detroit, again, much like Houston, I was totally disrespectful of Detroit this season. They were the worst team in the Eastern Conference last year, and then they finished a very, very strong number 6 in the Eastern Conference for this season. So shout out to those young men in Detroit. And so this is how the standings, played out and how the playoff picture actually looks heading into tomorrow night's play-in rounds, where we'll actually get a chance to see the Western Conference play-in games on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we'll get a chance to see the Eastern Conference. But Cleveland, like I said, finished number 1, the second best record in the NBA. Boston at number 2, New York at number 3, Indiana and Milwaukee 4-5, and that 4-5 matchup first round is going to be very interesting. Detroit finished at number 6, which I said, so they'll square off against the Knicks in the first round. Man, that's going to be a really, really good matchup. I'll jump into that one here in a bit. Orlando and Atlanta will square off in the 7-8 matchup for play-in, which is going to be a really, really good game. I give the edge, in my opinion, to Orlando here, and so does Vegas. And then Miami, Chicago, same thing. I give the edge in that matchup to Chicago. Chicago's been playing lights out to close out this last stretch run of the regular season, or to close out what was the stretch run. So yeah, I'm really excited to see the play-in matchups. But that's how the Eastern Conference shook out. As far as the Western Conference is concerned, We had Oklahoma City finished number one overall, like I said, and just the number one team, number one record in the entire NBA for this season. Houston surprisingly at number two. Shout out to the Houston Rockets, man. Those boys are really solid and still kind of slept on in a lot of ways. I'll get into that in a second as well. The Lakers, much to my surprise, but nobody thought Luka would be coming there this year. Like nobody could have foresaw that except the Lakers and the league with that bullshit. But the Lakers finished at number three. Denver and the Clippers in this 4-5 matchup. It's going to be an incredible matchup as well. Minnesota finished at number six. Minnesota played so good down the stretch as well to get themselves back into respectability. So that's going to be really, really interesting. A matchup to take a look at. It's going to be that 3-6 matchup with the Lakers and Minnesota. Clippers and Denver is going to be a really, really great matchup as well. Play-in shakes out like this. Unfortunately, Draymond missed a layup at the end. I won't just blame it on Draymond. They had a lot of opportunities. Steph turned the ball over quite a few times down the stretch in that game. That deciding game 82 matchup versus the Clippers, where they could have, and if they could have pulled that off, they would have been in very good stand. And obviously not to make the play-in or to be above play-in. But they find themselves in a 7-8 game versus Memphis. And this Memphis team has been kind of really weird looking, I'll say, for the season. They won 48 games, which is very impressive. But I don't know. I'm still kind of expecting the Memphis teams prior to like the last season, 2 seasons or so, when Ja was having all the issues, and I felt like his antics and his suspensions kind of threw off, and his injuries as well, kind of threw off their chemistry. I expected them to get back to where they were this season, but you know what I mean? Like for the most part, or actually to kind of be in that space, but to take a bit of a leap, and they didn't this year, unfortunately. But they found themselves in this 7-8 matchup with Golden State, and I give the edge to Golden State here personally. And then Sacramento and Dallas find themselves in the 9-10 play-in a matchup. Obviously, the edge, in my opinion, goes to Sacramento by virtue of Kyrie being injured and, Anthony Davis being like, yeah, but Dallas still has a very talented basketball team. But with Kyrie in the lineup, I certainly would have given the edge to Sacramento or to Dallas over Sacramento. But I got to give the edge to Sacramento in this regard. But we'll see how that plays out. I want to talk about the play-in. Let's first start in the Eastern Conference. As I said, in the 7-8 matchup, you got the Hawks versus Orlando. And, I tip my hat to Orlando. Orlando also, because of Paolo Banchero's, I think he had like some kind of a shoulder issue or some kind of a tear or something like that in his shoulder or his pec that led to him being, out and saddled and having to miss some games. And Franz Wagner, I believe, had some injuries as well. But they were able to figure it out. So at least they were able to get themselves into playoff contention, which I was excited to see because I was very high on Orlando for this season, as my other graphic showed. The Heat and also the Bulls. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they're pretty much those kind of like that 8 to 10, range of a 7 to 10 range of teams. So I figure they would be a play-in team, one way or the other. And it has manifested itself into reality where the Heat will square off against the Bulls. Tyler Hero had an amazing season. Bam Adebayo's doing a great job at just kind of helping to facilitate and floor space, and so they're a really, I won't say evenly matched team because I think that the edge goes to Chicago because of how great Kobe White's been playing. Obviously, Josh Giddey's been playing amazing as well. So I think that I just personally give the edge to Chicago, and because of how Chicago closed the season with their fury, close out the last month of the season, with a really high percentage of wins over losses. I think at one point they had won like 9 out of 11 games or something like that. So they're a really good basketball team. I like that young team. The Baby Bulls are proven to be formidable. Next graphic, obviously, for the Western Conference play-in situation. I mentioned the 7-8 matchup being Golden State and also Memphis. Memphis, I'm just not really high on, even though Golden State hasn't made it out of the play-in the 3 other times that they've made the play-in over the last couple of years. They always seem to lose in the play-in, but I'm gonna give the edge to Golden State here just because of Jimmy, Butler being there. Jimmy seems to turn his game up and take it to another level in the playoffs. Historically, he's done that, so I don't expect anything different here in the playoffs with Golden State. So I think that this is the first year that Golden State actually makes it out of the play-in. And they're certainly favored by Vegas to do so as well. I think by like 5 points or something like that. In the 9-10 matchup, you obviously get, the Sabonis and um, the Sabonis and Zach Levine and why can I think of DeMar DeRozan's name for some reason right now? But they go up against and square off against Anthony Davis, PJ Washington. Um, the other bigs are back right now, so I think that Dallas just missing Kyrie, man. I just don't think that they are in a space to knock off Sacramento. And Sacramento is favored by Vegas as well. So I think that that'll be the edge going to Sacramento there. But to talk about some of the matchups that I'm most excited about to see here in the first round, let's talk about this Pacers Bucks series really quick, man. I'm so excited to see the Pacers and the Bucks square off. I don't know if Dame will be back from the blood clotting issue or not. And I'm not sure how well Indiana will actually, play, given their kind of roller coaster up and down play as well. But the Bucks and Indiana were on the struggle bus. I did a struggle bus episode earlier in the season, and both these teams were like kind of struggle bus. And so for them to find themselves at 4-5 in this 4-5 seed in the Eastern Conference, I think is really good. It speaks volumes for both of those teams. I was saying during that episode not to panic, don't freak out, because you know what I mean. Like, great things were on the horizon, and I certainly wasn't wrong in that regard. But next matchup that I'm super excited to see here in the Eastern Conference is the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. Man, I think this is like the series I'm most intrigued to see, most in terms of matchups in the Eastern Conference. I really, really want to see this series. I just think that these teams match up well together, and I think it's going to be a dogfight. It'll certainly go 7 games, in my opinion. It'll certainly go 7 games. This is like, you could book this for 7. It's going to be a dogfight, man, a complete and utter slugfest. Kay Cunningham has been playing lights out. Jalen Duren and those guys. Malik Beasley shot the ball well. Second leading 3-point shooter in the entire NBA this season. Just being edged out by Anthony Edwards by one made 3-pointer. So the Knicks are fortunate to have Jalen Brunson back, who suffered a nasty ankle injury a few weeks ago, or about a month ago. I'm so glad that he's back. You know what I mean? So this 3-6 matchup is gonna be terror, man. Detroit. And um, shout out to the head coach. I don't know why I can't think of names right now, but shout out to Detroit's coach, um, DK Bickerstaff, I believe it is, for the job that he's done with this young Detroit team. Again, they were in the bottom. They were in the basement of the Eastern Conference last year, like literally the worst team last year. So they won like almost 3 times, or a little over 3 times more the games this season than they did last season, man, which is just phenomenal. So shout out to those guys. It's going to be a really intriguing matchup. Then I want to get to the Western Conference matchups. This Lakers T-Wolves series is going to be amazing to watch. I think that the way that Minnesota has gotten themselves together and gotten off the snide, I think they're going to be really, really, really good to watch and good to go here in the playoffs. They kind of turned it up at the right time. The Lakers have been well coached. I'll give JJ his credit for coaching that personnel. Properly. Luka has clearly helped them by leaps and bounds become a better basketball team. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of draw up and scheme against each other to pull off the wins. But they say defense wins championships, and that's almost in every sport. So I don't see how um, I don't see how the Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves won't scheme against each other to pull the best, from each other, and to slow down, what the other wants to do. But if I had to give an edge to a defensive team, it would definitely be Minnesota over the Lakers, even though Lakers were playing lights out and were like the best defensive team between like January, mid-February. So they were playing just amazing defense. So they have the propensity to play great defense. I'm not saying that they can't, but it's just going to be interesting to kind of see. I'm wondering who's going to guard Ant, like literally who's going to guard Ant, because I think Ant can do a good job guarding Luka. I don't. The Lakers don't have an answer for Anthony Edwards. So that's going to be a great series to take a look at. The next one that I'm super excited to watch here in the Western Conference is going to be the Denver Nuggets versus the Clippers. Man, this 4-5 game is going to be amazing to watch. Everybody's healthy, clear across the board on both teams. So I think that they've gotten themselves, you know what I mean, like back to health at the right times, peaking despite Denver firing Mike Malone a couple of weeks ago or last week, which is so crazy to me. It's so bizarre. I wish that Mike was still there, but they still have the assistants in place that understand, you know what I mean, the best strategies and the best schemes and lineups they're going to have to figure out. But with Kawhi being back, man, it just makes it just an incredible matchup. Like Kawhi's been playing amazingly, like he's back to form. So as long as Kawhi stays healthy and Kawhi keeps playing at that level, I think this is another one of those series that'll go 7 games. So I think we can book 7 games for that one too, man. It's going to be really exciting to watch a dog fight in the Western Conference. And final graphic here, just in how the Eastern Western Conference, final or playoff picture, shapes up based on my predictions that I made, obviously, with who's going to get in through the play-in situations. Um, I've got Cleveland facing off against the Bulls in the first round. That 1-8 matchup. We'll have the Baby Bulls square off against Cleveland in the Great Midwest Showdown. So that's going to be amazing. Obviously, we already talked about the Pacers, Bucks, the Knicks, Pistons, and then the Celtics, Magic. So the Celtics defending champion. I think the Celtics have been playing possum all season, if I had to be perfectly honest with you. I think they have the ability to turn it up anytime that they want. The one thing that concerns me about Boston right now is that Jaylen Brown is injured. Like he has that knee just kind of hobbled a bit. So I'm hoping that maybe this series helps them to buy a little more time for him to get up to snuff so that, you know what I mean? Like they don't miss his production, because he's in and out of the lineup or in missing games and stuff like that. But we'll see how it plays out. In the Western Conference, the 1-8 matchup I have being the Thunder versus the Grizzlies. I do have the Grizzlies making it to the playoffs, actually, in the 8th seed. Can they beat the Thunder? No. I mean, anything's possible, but man, the Thunder are just a well-oiled machine. We already talked about the Clippers Nuggets. We talked about the Lakers T-Wolves already. So Rockets Warriors, I think, is going to be a really intriguing matchup. I have the Warriors making it. They have to make it. This isn't concrete. The 7 and 8 in both conferences, as I have here on the graphic, is just my prediction. If this changes, obviously, I'll have to make another video to be like, whoop, I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like we did this wrong. But we'll take a look at it as things develop, man, here over the next couple of days. I'm excited for these playoffs. I'm hoping you're excited for these playoffs as well, man. This is the most excited I've been in a lot of years for the playoffs since I even watched the play-in games. So, man, let me know what your opinions are in the comments. That's been the basis of this episode. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I will catch you in the next episode. Until then, pop your popcorn, man. Get your wine ready. These playoffs are about to be incredible. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.